All right, well, I really hope that worked. For some reason, it started telling me that I didn't have rights to stream on the channel from, just, I'm sorry. I already talked to everybody. I was already having a conversation. I looked down. There's nobody in the chat. There's nobody watching. It tells me I can't do it. Frick this. So I fixed it. Now listen. This is a new system, and it's all taking some time. So I really hope you guys can see this. I hope it's streaming. I'm gonna check, just because this is okay. There you go. There we go. See, and you're on the screen and everything. Okay. Awesome, guys. Okay. Thank you for being so patient with me while we're learning a new system. It is what it is. When you're integrating completely new technology, it doesn't always work very easily. So I did realize though that we got the chat on the screen. You guys can see it. I know it's small. We're working on it. Faith says, hey, Rubby Rubster. What's up, guys? It's so good to see you. I'm working on making sure you guys have lives where the thumbnail and the video are there for you, so you don't have to think about that. I know that probably was a little frustrating because you guys didn't have a video to see. So we're gonna get to it. We have a couple of follow-ups on our stories. So we actually have some people who had sent in their stories who wanted to actually continue on their last email that they sent us. So we went over this last one. It does have some trigger warnings, so I want you guys to know that. And like I always tell you guys, this is always to make sure that you guys are learning with us, and everyone who does this is very brave. This is very hard, even though I know I'm reading them for you. You're putting yourself out there, whether it's anonymous or not. Salt and pepper, yes. I just have a stuffy nose, so I'm sorry. I'm a little nasally. It came on yesterday, 2 days ago, and it just sits right here, just in the nose, unfortunately. So if my voice is annoying, I'm sorry, but I wanted to get through this. Also, another announcement for sharing your stories. What we're gonna do is we're gonna condense this into one time a month going forward. So what we'll do is I'm gonna gather a bunch of stories and we'll do a longer stream where we read a lot more stories. But we're gonna do it one time a month, and I'll let you guys know on our community tab when that is, so that way you guys can be there for that, and we'll spend time really reading through people's stories and take our time. So just remember, if you want to submit your story, just send it to askcolbyj@gmail.com, so that way you guys can either follow up or add more to your story, and we'll go from there. So like I said, we have a follow-up here. I think we just read this one within the last 2 times that we did it. We do have an essay trigger warning, so I just want to put that out there before reading. I don't want anybody to be put into a bad place mentally today. But here we go. So this is also still anonymous. It says, hi, Colby and Kelsey. A follow from a couple of weeks ago. I'm almost 40 years old. This is under the carpet. Though through my school life, I did not tell a soul. I became a clown, and I struggled taking anything serious. Because if the love I had for my parents, I didn't do any wrong. Not that I knew of any. All I wanted was to be a mommy. My failures at school wasn't a problem for me. Yet years down the line, my dad said, out of all of his children, that I would have done more with my life. In my eyes, I did everything I wanted to. By that time, I was 24 and I had 3 children. They were still my happy place. I told myself anything negatively I had, I would turn to it into a positive. I became very protective, maybe overprotective. I dealt with depression for so long. I've never had a career. My child were that. So her children, my child. My children were that, just so you know. That was my bad. Sorry, I know I sound a little nasally. I'm sorry about that. I've been on antidepressants for 6 years. Developed PTSD. The levels of stress have caused so many physical illnesses. I have vascular disease. I've had a heart attack when I was 46. I developed T2, type 2 diabetes, which is controlled with insulin jabs. Basically, hardly leave my bedroom, as I feel I can't say or do anything to upset anyone. My hubby is so very patient and understands my needs. The rest of the family make jokes to me behind my back at how much I sleep. Sleep is much nicer than reality most days. But trying to explain depression to someone who has never experienced it is impossible. My dad thought his family was perfect, so I'm happy he is no longer here to witness this all of this. I have never envied anyone, but I feel hurt that my sister had her, I don't want to say the word. See, this is the only problem is I have to figure out how to say it. We'll say not the full word. Her perv husband get invited to the family weddings like it was like he got away with it again. My sister asked me not to tell anyone, her friends, and I watched her carry on with the lifestyle that she used to. Huge diamonds and Rolexes and 2 villas in Spain, as I don't want to envy what she has, but the hurt is awful. I would never take my own life. I couldn't leave such a legacy for my grandbabies. Those children are the reason that I stay put. My love for them is bigger than the love. It's phenomenal. But not a day goes by that I don't weigh up on who would actually miss me, and not taking my meds would work quicker than taking them all. I am here as long as my body holds out. Love to you and your family, and to all our fellow warriors. Yeah, that's very honest and real. It's hard to hear that. I know it's a struggle. I do have a video for you guys, probably Monday, that's gonna come out. That's gonna really touch on a lot of this stuff too. Just so you guys know. Because I understand where you're coming from. I don't know all of your struggles, but I know that you're in pain, and I know that this kind of pain just doesn't go away, and it's a hard place to be. It's a hard place to be. So thank you for sharing your story and following up with us. Again, you're staying strong, and that's what matters. And I understand that thought of, oh, who would miss me, and a lot of people. And we'll get into another conversation deeper about that. Okay, I gotta find my other one real quick. I had it saved. That one. Some of them are just emails and some are your stories, so I have to find it. I have one more follow-up. I'm trying to find it. Give me 1 second, guys. Yes, thank you guys for everyone who sends their stories. It's hard to have your story talked about, and it's not easy to be vulnerable. So thank you for being vulnerable for the sake of others. No, I have a follow-up that I responded to with one of you guys. I told you we'd follow up on it. What the frick? Give me 1 second. I'm going to find it. It's a lot of our emails in here. There we go. I think this is it right here. Okay, here we go. Man, these These are hard, bro. These are very, very hard to read. Um, I hope you guys know that it's it's very important, but it's hard work, right? It's very important to have these conversations, but it doesn't change the fact that this is real life. This is your actual story. And I know that it feels like you can't condense your story into an email, but you guys are doing a great job. Okay. So this one is going to be a little long, but it's still good for us to read. All right. Here we go. So this is more to another story. It is a part 3. Okay. And is a trigger warning for pregnancy and loss and domestic V. Before I start, I want to tell you my heart breaks for you and everyone who has lost an unborn or live child. It is a loss that I do not want anyone to go through, not even an enemy. This part of my story is very sensitive. There's a rainbow at the end of the storm. My first pregnancy was a rough one. It involved a preterm labor, going through and getting hit in the stomach. When I was 15 or 16, married to a drug addict that cheated on me and was gone a lot. My little girl was born with a cleft lip. After having her at 10 p.m., they took her into the nursery and they didn't want me to hold her again until the next morning. I couldn't understand why the Lord let this happen to my baby. My sweet sister-in-law in that time reminded me that the Lord did have his hand on her. Because of the measles, she couldn't have been further deformed or even have died. They did her first surgery when she was 2 months old. Thankfully, her cleft palate had healed before the surgery, and they only had to repair her lip. Recovery was slow and hard on a 16-year-old for the first-time mom. I was forced to quit school because I had to take care of her, which of course is worth it. My next pregnancy was during another abusive marriage. Lots of depressions. That man decided that he would get a vasectomy after I had my first son. However, he did not follow the doctor's orders, and I got pregnant shortly after. He accused me of cheating on him. There's no way for that to happen. He isolated me at home from my family and was not allowed friends. I lived across the street from his uncle and his aunt, who watched our every move. Well, at about 12 weeks, I began to have extreme cramps and bleeding. I had to beg his mom to take me to the ER. After an ultrasound, they informed me that I was miscarrying and to go home and rest until the baby passed the body. My body passed the baby. 2 weeks go by, still haven't passed the baby. I was getting very sick. I called my OB doctor to explain the situation. He told me to get to his office as soon as I could. Again, I had to beg his mom to take me the next day. In the doctor's office, they did an ultrasound and did find that the baby was still inside and decaying. He told me that I needed surgery and as soon as possible at the next morning. It was the end of the day, so he couldn't fit me in that day and told me to be at the hospital first thing in the morning. The abuser walks in the office yelling at me and yelling at the doctor that he wants a paternity test. The doctor told him that it would cost him a lot of money and to leave. Of course, I walked out with him. In the elevator, he was talking down to me and telling me that I deserve this and whatever I get. I was crushed and crying, hurting and sick. Later that night, I called my mom, who lived very far away. She used a little bit of money that she had and drove to me in that night in her old clunker car. She held me while I cried. Her car wouldn't make it to the hospital the next morning. And I'm going to call him the AB, just so you guys know, because that's what he's being referred to as. So the AB refused to take me. And I had to call his mom again and beg her, crying, to take my mom and I to the hospital. My mom and his mom watched my 2 children. One was only a baby, while they took me back to prep for surgery. While I was in pre-op, I was crying and hurting. And who should appear? Yep, you guessed it. My AB. yelling at me again and yelling at the doctor and nurses to do a paternity test. Again, they made him leave in the hospital and refused any testing. His mom and my mom, where'd he go? His mom and my mom and I drove back home. Shortly after we got there, my dad shows up with a truck. He begged me to leave with him. My mom and dad loaded up my kids and drove us to my mom's house. Boy, was I sick. It took a while for me to recover. My mom nursed me back to health. Depression again. Then one day, I began having flashbacks of my childhood and what I had went through. I began crying and calling my mom, who had received a bachelor's degree in psychology. She held me and listened to all the things that I saw and went through. She held me and prayed for me. She made me get up on Sunday and did go to church, and I'm so glad she did, because Jesus is the answer. Third pregnancy was while I was on injectable birth control, out of wedlock, and the dad didn't like children. However, he wanted full custody or nothing. I explained to him that we are talking about my baby girl, and I can't give up my baby. He told me to raise her myself and don't even bother him for child support or anything. So I raised her without him. I spent the next couple of years getting closer to the Lord. Then, married again, I was pregnant within the first 4 months or so. Excited, happy, and scared. Around 20 weeks, I had the autonomy scan, and everything seemed fine except they saw that the fluid was a little low. Within a week or two, cramps, bleeding, and no movement. I go to the doctor's office and find out that our little girl had passed. The doctor said I should go home and rest if my body doesn't work right in 2 days to call him. So I called him and went to the hospital on 911 to be induced into labor. The safest way for my body to recover and to have a better chance to have another baby. That was one of the worst days of my life, to labor for hours and then have a baby that doesn't cry. Devastating. The nurses and even the doctor prayed with us and encouraged me to hold the baby, and I'm glad that I did. It was so healing to be able to hold her and count her fingers and toes. They offered a free funeral and a free autopsy to find out what happened and donate her little body to science for others to learn. Since it wasn't the first time losing a baby, I asked for the autopsy, and the results came back in as antiphospholipid syndrome. I'm sorry if I butchered that. My body thinks that the baby is a threat and clots the cord. The good news was I could take shots during pregnancy to prevent it happening again. Our little girl had a purpose. She made the way for her little sister and brother to be born later. I was pregnant the next year. I had started daily blood thinning shots in my stomach to help with the clotting, but I found out I was allergic to it and had to stop. Then at 12 weeks pregnant, my doctor found twin tumors in my bladder. Said that they had to come out immediately. I went to meet with the anesthesiologist and was told due to the medication our baby would either be severely deformed or would most likely die. They suggested an abortion. We decided to put it all in God's hands and trust him. A week later, I had surgery. A couple weeks later, a sonogram showed our baby girl alive, moving in her little hands in front of her face like she was praying. LOL, go back to the urologist for results. He said, well, I have been doing this for over 20 years, and I know what cancer looks like. That's what I was looking at. But the results show that the follicular cysts, it was follicular cysts. I could have given up. I could have given you a pill for that. I cried and told him it was Jesus. He said it must have been because he couldn't explain it. Thank you, Jesus. She was born complete and healthy. 2 years later, our youngest son was born. That pregnancy, I took a different kind of shot daily in my stomach. He was a breech and I had a C-section, but he was healthy and happy. God is so good. We started homeschooling when our youngest daughter was about 3. I noticed that she was holding her books close to her face, so I took her to the doctor, and he said due to the surgery at 12 weeks, Her eyes were damaged and she was legally blind, seeing at 100/20 instead of 20/20. He also told me that her eyes would not get better until she had surgery when she was fully grown. He gave her glasses and she saw a plane in the sky for the first time. She still couldn't see very good detail, years going by to specialists and many pairs of glasses. Then one day, she was 9 or 10, and I told our kids the story of when Jesus healed my eyes. My daughter was quiet. Her next eye appointment, her doctor was amazed at how much her vision had increased. He kept saying, "Wow, your vision has increased so much, and with your condition, this shouldn't happen." My daughter looked at the doctor and told him that's because she's been praying to Jesus to heal her eyes to see 20/20. He said, "Wow. Well, he sent you to the right place. For the first time in your life, you will have glasses to help you see 20/20. When he picked up her glasses, she and I both cried. She said she could see my eyes. She was so amazed at how many colors there were in the world. All about the detail in the leaves on the trees. Jesus is so amazing. Her vision increased by 30 points in each eye. Only our Savior and King can do that. I praise him for every single touch and blessing he has blessed me with. I don't deserve it, and it is all his glory. Thank you for listening, and I pray that this has blessed someone and gives you hope in Jesus. Never give up. He sees you and loves you." Holy moly. That one was, whew. Guys, you guys are just so strong, man. Oh my gosh. You got me out here crying. What's up, Emmy? Oh my gosh. All right, gotta go down a little bit. Oh, wow. Okay. I got one more for you, and this is from Anonymous. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. New Year's Day 2019, a song was shown to me by my older brother. He let me know that during the time of my life, he had listened to it continuously, dedicated to me. Sister Don't Cry by Collective Soul. I, at that time, was an emotional tailspin in my life, and this has impacted me to the point that questions and change had started to continuously form. At 39 years old, at the time of finally seeing a much clearer picture of myself, the despair I had felt for so long rejuvenated into hope, new beginnings, strength, and the ability to start loving myself. I never knew someone cared. I had felt embarrassed for so long and had never heard anybody really talk about it. So for 27 years, 27 years later, and a 14-year-old's voice awoken. Late in the night, I and a 14-year-old girl was awoken by 5 or 6 girls, ranging in the age from 16 to almost 18, along with 2 adults standing in my room. They told me to get up and go with them. Confused and disoriented, I panicked. I looked around frantically for my family. One of the adults instructed the girls to contain me and get me into the vehicle. As I was guided to the door and out of the front door, I glimpsed over at my mother sitting on the couch. She did not look my way or say anything. Still confused, I willingly walked with these people to the front door and to the passenger van. As the doors closed, I saw one of my brothers walk out and hand a bag to an adult. The vehicle started up and the van packed out of the driveway. I pulled onto the road and drove away. I think this all must have been just in a few minutes, a memory that has withstood in my mind for years. Shortly after the journey started, I was told to look down at my lap and not raise my eyes during the duration of the drive. I did as I was told and stared at my hands and my blue pajama bottoms for hours. I remember the sound of others talking and yelling at me. My eyes glazed over at the lack of blinking, my heart pounding so loudly in my ears that it thumped. The absolute fear. When we arrived at the destination, I was taken. The van doors opened and people started to filter out, and I was instructed to grab my duffel bag, the same bag that was brought out by my brother, and to exit the van. 2 of the girls waited and grabbed my arms on either side, ushering me into a home, then into a room in the back. Once Once there, my bag was opened and all of my belongings were dumped out, inspected, and ultimately found to be acceptable? Question mark. I was handed a bag and told to put everything back in, brush my teeth, and had shown a place on the floor of the room where I was to sleep. I should also mention that the rules were to be by my side the entire time. So one of the girls, whom I found out later was a quote unquote tracker, slept in the bunk bed by my place on the floor. To the readers who are still in this far, don't worry, I wasn't quote unquote kidnapped. My mother knew exactly where I was, even though I didn't. I had been taken from my home in the middle of the night to be at a troubled youth program. Did I do drugs? No. Was I promiscuous? No. Was I violent? No. So you ask, what is it that I did? I can attach my essay of wrongdoings to a task I was made to write. Some of the items would say trying cigarettes, disrespecting my parents, swearing and hanging out with the quote-unquote wrong crowd. Was I perfect 14-year-old girl? Not even close. Yet I'm realizing now I was not someone who needed to be tossed away for almost a year, given a sentence that did not match the crime, hiding food under my bed because I was hungry, and was described as thievery and dishonesty. Taking a bit longer to a boy after work was described as unholy and undervaluing myself, which in these descriptions were told to me by the program, and in turn I was said to be a liar, a manipulator, and an addict, and many more. To say that this was a hell is an understatement. I became quiet and let everyone around me tell my story. Tell me what my story was. I was screamed at, held down because I could never have a breakthrough. I never graduated from the program and was removed the month the state came in on child AB charges. I was 65 pounds and mentally broke, going home. That's all I want to share. Wow. Wow. Unbelievable. Wow, dude. Guys, your guys' stories are unbelievably impactful. And I always want to share this now at the end real quick, because we are going to do another, like I said, going into this, to each month we'll do one. I know. I think that's kind of the thing, is that there's no perfect thing to say ever in these situations. What I will tell you is it's very important for us to realize that the thing we hit on so often is what we think about ourselves. What is my identity? And I think that more people struggle with what is my identity than almost any other problem that we have and especially from youth. We don't know who we are. And you go on this journey and you have people telling you who you are from their perspective and their brokenness, and they give you a false identity. And I'm really glad that you did that self-reflection and realized that people shouldn't tell you, you go through, like, you get to a point where you start breaking down, what have I done wrong? What did I do? Why am I, why do I deserve to be in this place? And that goes across the board. Anybody who's been put in any situation, why do I have to go through this, right? And the reality is there's not always, and I hate to say this because I hope this doesn't sound discouraging to you, but there's not always this huge giant reason why you're going through something. What happens is things do happen, and our only power in life is how we respond. And going into what happens next in our life really comes back to, are we able to somehow understand what we went through and what can we do about it now? And you know what? That's why we talk about keeping those scars, because those scars stay. Your guys' stories, you can tell when you write them that you remember that stuff like it was yesterday, no matter how long ago. When you tell a story like this, you remember those details. You remember, and I can tell by how you guys are writing, you remember everything that you're writing about. So you don't need to continue to blame yourself for what happened. And you don't need to continue to tell yourself that you're not worthy of love and that you can heal past these things. And this will always be your story. But I just really want to encourage you guys, like everybody who's been through so much in your stories and continuing and choosing to push forward. You are a great example of what what life is all about. You can't choose what happens to you, but at some point you can choose what you do next with your life. That's all that matters, right? That's all that's going to matter. What choices am I going to make now? Because I can't change what happened. And you know what? Sometimes that's going to take some time to get there. You're going to have to first come to that place of acceptance. You know? Yeah. But the warrior side is, how are we going to fight to be better? You know? How are we going to fight to be better? How are we going to make better choices? Exactly. And I just know, let's just put it this way. Everybody who's writing this, everybody knows this, knows about the darkness, this darkness that circulates around people. And this darkness is what causes people to make really, really hard decisions in life, and sometimes the wrong decisions. And you don't see your worth, and you're in a dark place, and the next thing you do is make a life-altering, life-changing decision. And I just can't stand that thought. So hopefully we continue to invite people to listen to other stories like this, like yours, that show them there's more than one person who has survived hard trials and hard things. I want to say thank you guys for being here tonight. I know we did not have a live up ready for you. We're still working on that stuff on the tech side. Coming up on Monday, possibly Tuesday, depending on how long it takes me to get some of this stuff finished. I have a video for you that hits right on kind of what we're talking about. I've never talked and opened up about the stuff that I'm going to talk about on Monday. I already had made the video, but it's been really hard to get through because the subject is just very, very, very vulnerable, raw, personal, and it's really hard to discuss, but it needs to be done. So I'm really trying to push past my own comfort level, comfort zone, and not make it about myself. So I will let you guys know if it's coming out Monday. I'll put that up. It is going to be, yeah, I'll just put it that way. I'll just put it the way I said it. Thank you guys. First of all, just thank you for sharing your stories, the vulnerability. You're helping others, no matter who listens to these lives. I know, because they are hard to listen to, but you're helping people, and you're giving people encouragement, and you're creating more and more and more people who can say, I can do this too. I can be strong. I experienced something similar, and I can be strong. So I really just thank you. Thank you for being that. I love you. I appreciate you guys. I am going to let you know on any updates that are coming up on the channel. And I know a lot of people have been telling me they're missing the notifications for the videos. I will tell you this. The only thing I know you can do to be able to get a notification for our lives and everything is just turn your notifications on in your YouTube app on your phone or whatever. And when we go live, even if it's like this, where there's no thumbnail or like anything waiting for you, like a waiting room, it will go live and it will let you know. So I just want to let you guys know that, because some people have been like, I'm not getting notifications. I think you have to toggle them on and it will tell you right when we go live. So, but yeah, I appreciate it. Anybody who I haven't gotten to yet, just know, like I said, once a month will take a lot longer, and just read through more stories and we'll get to them. So, and if you feel like you sent one a while ago, you can send another email in the same thread just to kind of refresh from it being down at the bottom to back up at the top. So, but yeah. Yeah, it really has sucked. A lot of people have been telling me that. A lot of you guys have said, like, I'm not getting notifications on videos, and I'm never getting anything. So, but anyway, guys, I love you, man. If any of you are just randomly, so you know, if any of you are just struggling, you know, and having a hard time, just know that you have community here. There's obviously people who are here who struggle, who are not feeling safe all the time, that struggle mentally too. And we're not here to judge what you're going through. It's just a support system and people who understand intangibly pain, right? And again, I hate to say this, but we're not a group that's just bonding over trauma. We're people who acknowledge our trauma, who want to be the best version of ourselves. We all deserve that. You deserve that. And, I deserve that, because we know what we want to attain is to be healthy and to be better. Susan Vallow is here. Susan, are you here? I hope you're I don't see her. I just see you guys saying that. Well, it's good to have you here, Susan. And that's the thing. It just takes time to really readjust to, after trauma, there's the shock. And I think you have to work through the shock. Then you have to work through everything that comes after that. But we'll get into that again Monday. That video will explain a lot of that. I hope that really helps you. I hope it's worth having out there for you, because I really do feel like this is me putting my heart out there for you 1000%, everything. So, oh, I see you, Susan. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. But again, if you have a question, if you have an email and a story that you'd like to be shared on our next Share Your Stories, please send them to askcolbyj@gmail.com, and we'll get to those places. Again, I had to proofread them to make sure, because what I want to do is make sure that I don't pull up too much trauma for others by saying certain trigger words. So I try to be very, very sensitive to that. But just know that I love you guys. I appreciate you, and I will keep you up to date on the community tab. And other